Going. Oh no!
Hey guys, what is up? MegaGamer here, and welcome to Everything Uncharted 4, the series where we talk everything Uncharted 4 and beyond. And today is a very special day. Just several hours ago, we witnessed the PlayStation experience, the first of hopefully many PlayStation experiences, which basically just looks back at PlayStation and shows us all brand new PlayStation related stuff. And to kick off the opening show this morning was none other than Uncharted 4 gameplay. It was not only a snippet of gameplay, it was 15 goddamn minutes of uncut gameplay, and it looks fucking beautiful. So in this video we're going to dissect the gameplay and just point out all the little things you can notice that make this demo special. And the reason I really love this demo is because it's not trying to impress people with giant set pieces and whatnot that we usually expect from Uncharted and Uncharted demos that we usually get at E3, etc, Gamescom, so on and so forth. But it's actually just nailing down the core gameplay of the game, and in these 15 minutes it shows you what to expect in Uncharted in between all of those set piece moments. And what I mean by that is that, you know, the traversal gameplay, the combat, you know, the gunplay, just exploring and climbing and all of that. It's just showing that basic element and how it looks generally in this new game on a new console, showing us why this game is going to be next gen within and outside of graphical fidelity. So without further ado, let's take a look at this gameplay video, trailer, whatever you want to call it. It is 15 minutes long, so let's just try and get through the video live without any stops or minimal stops and analyze as much as we can about it. There are a few little hints we can refer to in the story with this trailer, which I will attend to at the end. So here we go. Naughty Dog. So yes, this is Uncharted 4 gameplay in all its glory, running real time on the system. Now this is obviously the same locale as in the trailer that we saw at E3 this year. And there's the Nathan Drake character model, which I dare say, if you watch this in 1080p, looks just as fucking good as the trailer.
Who the hell are you?
Now there he's referring to a character we're going to meet at the end who we'll discuss then. But until then, let's stick to the gameplay. Right off the bat, motherfucker, look how good this game looks. And it gets even better once the daytime rolls in after it exits the cave. But right here you're seeing the, you know, the draw distance. Just look at it. Holy crap, this game looks amazing. And yeah, you really should be watching this in the highest quality. I'm probably not going to upload in 1080p unfortunately, but I will link you to a source where you can download the trailer. And of course the original YouTube video. That would looks awesome. You can see the steam coming out of it. You can just see the wind affecting these, you know, plants and foliage on the bottom. It just looks really good.
Whoa. Huh. Where to now?
Now one thing you're definitely going to notice in this demo constantly is the animations. With going from like 250 megabytes to 8,000 megabytes of RAM on the PlayStation 4, Naughty Dog are literally just limited by their imaginations in terms of animations. Here, the climbing. Holy crap, the climbing. In the previous Uncharted, he would just leap to leap to leap to leap, and it would be pretty unrealistic. In this one, the climbing looks incredibly realistic just because the animations are redone, so it just looks more realistic, the way he climbs around, the way he moves.
It's not reassuring.
Now here we're seeing a bit of a snippet from The Last of Us. It's taking out optional conversations, which I kind of expected them to do, and I'm glad they did because it definitely works for Uncharted. Adds to the whole exploration dealy. Pretty typical Uncharted gameplay here. as you can see, the way he's reaching out to grab that, the animations look a lot more dynamic, and just with the old Uncharted, if he goes to reach out for a ledge before he jumps, it's 1 or 2 animations, left or right, you know, the same typical reaching out with the arm. But in this one, it looks a lot more dynamic because, you know, he bends in so many different ways. His legs change, the way he jumps. All these animations come together to just make such a much more realistic rock climber in this situation. But it also just looks fantastic, the animations. You know, Naughty Dog had so much more room to make stuff now for that extra RAM on the PS4, and it's definitely showing off. It looks incredible. Now, remember, in the first Uncharted, we were all blown away by how his clothes got wet, but this takes it a whole nother step further. There's just different things are being affected by different other things, which I'll go into detail in a minute, but holy crap, look at that.
Hey, seen anyone come by here? Tall, lanky, filled with big, stupid ideas about pirate treasure.
Now he's referring to the friend he's looking for in this one, obviously, and it kind of gives you an idea of the story a little bit. Makes you think that this character, who we later find out is named Sam, convinced Drake to go on this adventure.
Luck, huh?
So here is a form of collectibles. If you look closely, you can hear a mention of Captain Every.
Poor bastards.
And you can also see on the side of Drake's notebook that there's a message to call Elena. So it looks like Elena's all safe and comfy back at their home wherever, while Drake's out here getting himself into trouble as usual.
You trying to climb up there? In those boots?
So you have the same, you know, typical dialogue from Nathan Drake. When the trailer first started, it actually sounded like his voice was a little more deep and, you know, gravy and old and whatnot. But as we're getting through this demo, you can tell that it's the same basic Nathan Drake voice. Now here is something interesting. It looks like some sort of key right there.
Pretty sure you don't need this.
Okay, maybe it's not a key. I don't know. I got confused by the little circular thing at the end. But you, it's interesting because now you can use this to help your rock climbing, which I don't know. It just looks cool the way it works because yeah, it does remind you of the new Tomb Raider a bit. There are definitely Tomb Raider mannerisms every now and then in this game.
Almost there.
But yeah, it still looks great. Even the fact that it doesn't work there, you have to like do a little extra jump, and just the way it affects the rocks. Like you will see it in a second when he jumps. Just the damage that dagger thing does to the wall. You can see the engrave, the imprint that it leaves, and it's just the extra detail that Naughty Dog strive for. Right there, you can see that carving that he just left in there, and again, yeah, Naughty Dog detail at its finest. It's just fantastic. Here we go, another fantastic view. The draw distance is incredible in this game. You can see everything so clearly, and it all looks beautiful and massive, and it's going to have that linear pathway, but the game's going to be this huge open world almost. I mean, you're not going to be able to go around the open world as like an open world game, but it's all there for you to see. And that's what Naughty Dog love to do. Now here's when things get interesting. We're finally going to see some combat in this game. It's going to start off with some stealth. Yes, this demo was very slow paced, and it was leaving a few people thinking on when are we going to get to the action. And yes, even though we don't see a major set piece moment, and it's still pretty slow paced compared to any other Uncharted demo, but damn, the combat in this game is crazy. And you're going to see it in a minute. Now we just saw Drake can use those leaves as a form of stealth, which, you know, we haven't really seen that in an Uncharted game, I don't think, which is kind of curious. I would think that we would have seen it by now, but there it is in the flesh to help Drake with his stealth, and looks pretty great. If you didn't notice, there seem to be two kind of accents. We're getting South African accents along with English accents from these enemies here, so it looks like we're getting a bit of a mix here, which is quite curious. Might give us a bit of an idea of who the antagonist is, or at least where he comes from. What comes from.
How they survived that wreck? They keep getting lucky. Well, luck eventually runs out. Give me that.
The thing I love about this as well is that even though it looks so realistic, there's still that stylized feeling of Uncharted here. Just the animations and that, it's not the most realistic form of violence like The Last of Us would depict. It still manages to be stylized and feel like it's just a typical action movie.
Jesus, these guys are everywhere. Don't use too much.
Now what you're going to notice when Drake gets spotted in a minute, you will see a white light. There it is. And it focuses more once Drake gets caught. And that looks like it's going to be a prominent part, not only in stealth, but just in general when enemies can see you or not. Yeah, here we get some melee combat with Drake and some random enemy here. And it doesn't look more refined. It just actually looks like it's done from scratch, redone the combat. And it looks awesome, as expected. We even seen the hit markers come up like we saw in the Last of Us. And we still got the same health system where the screen goes black and white. You will notice blind fire in this game actually works really well. I mean, it's not very accurate, but that's the whole point of blind fire, isn't it? And here we go. Probably the most epic moment in the whole damn gameplay sequence. You saw that R1, you knew he was going to use that rope to get around, and it still hit you like a fucking ton of bricks. How awesome was that? Traversal gunplay, as expected. Looks amazing as always. You can even see the tree knocked down as he falls over. The level design here was actually crazy good. Like once you get further in, you will notice and just how big this is and how all these little things come together to make this great playground for a shootout like this. As you can see, the enemy interactions are very, I wouldn't say dynamic, but there's definitely a lot more of them. Him grabbing on Nate's leg like that as falling, that definitely didn't happen in another Uncharted. Just that right there is awesome. You see the dust come out of the rocks as they've been shot. And that explosion looks crazy compared to the last Uncharted games. Now here's why I think the white line is involved more than just stealth. If no one sees you, they're automatically going to go into this stance where they start looking for you stealthily. They're not going to go running around like an idiot like in the original Uncharted. They'll actually start talking to each other and start looking for you a little more objectively. Like right here. No one knows where you are, so he instantly says, where did you go? And he's going to start, you know, looking around. He's not going to be instantly know where you are. So that's why I think that white line's a little important outside of stealth as well in that situation. Yeah, blind fire is fantastic in this game. No way to cheat that. Another example of great design in the level. Kicking down that hill, and you can use the hill yourself later on. Even though he was definitely pinned down, there seemed to be a lot of cool ways to get out of that. And there's definitely a lot of cool custom animations. And even here, you can still see the mud on the back of his shirt. Like I said, this is a step up from the whole him getting wet situation in the first Uncharted. This is a whole new level. Like I said, so many different things will affect his clothing, the way he looks, just dynamically.
Check over there. I'll search here.
And it's just fantastic. It really is. Again, the enemies go into stealth mode where they're looking for Drake as soon as they can't see him.
Anything? Clear so far. All right.
That is definitely a lot more intelligent in this. It definitely comes a bit from The Last of Us, and it's definitely a huge improvement from any other Uncharted. The thing I notice here is the guy over there on the other ledge. He seems to be a little more flexible and move around a little bit more than typical Uncharted enemies. Like, sure, Uncharted enemies don't mind jumping from one platform to another, but this guy's making giant leaps, and almost to the level of Drake himself. Watch him here. It's not a typical leap. That animation was done specifically for that platform. just extra details, and it's incredible. Now, what we're going to get an example of in a minute is that, just like in The Last of Us, you can leave the area without necessarily killing all the enemies. You can just leave the few there while they're looking for you, and then escape. It looks like they've only brought the elements from The Last of Us over that really work with Uncharted. And that's obviously a really good thing. The game probably isn't going to be as dark as everyone assumed it would be based on that E3 trailer. You know, it's all bright and colourful here. You know, it looks beautiful. Drake's, you know, whipping out his quips as always. It's definitely going to be an Uncharted game.
So long, boys.
And it's about time he got one of those. Really could have used it in those ice caves in Uncharted 2. You can even see the detail on him. Like, he's got his booklet, he's got a little pouch where he can keep it, a flashlight attached to it. Even that dagger thing he used to climb earlier is attached to that booklet holder. And of course, that rope is attached to the other side of his pants. And he's still got the half tuck while at it, which is always nice. Still got that half tuck look. I can't pull it off. I just look fat when I do it. Now, the thing I want to comment on really quickly before we move on is that a lot of people might say that this is a tiny bit of a downgrade from the E3 trailer. I disagree. I think this looks exactly as the E3 trailer promised. And the only reason we don't see that is because the camera's far away. We're not getting as close to look. I think this model is almost exactly... I'm pretty sure this is the same model they used in the E3 trailer. It's just hard to notice because we're not getting a very close-up on Nate's face every 5 seconds. And now this is a great example of them not using any more pre-rendered cutscenes. It's all going to be seamless, and cutscenes and gameplay are going to intertwine perfectly. And look how fucking good it still looks.
I nearly shot your head off.
Now here's Sam, an equally amazing looking character model, and supposedly Drake's older brother.
That I can't walk away from. It's good to see you're alive, little brother. Come on. We got a treasure to find.
Now, I'm going to go out and say I believe that that is his literal older brother. That is his actual brother. There's no slang involved in that dialogue. It's all legit. Look how beautiful that fucking game looks. And there you have it. 16 minutes of just pure sexy gameplay. And the game is still coming out within the next year. Holy shit. So... I just pointed out a bunch of little things in the trailer that really go to show just how upped this game is. And Naughty Dog can't stress enough how pre-alpha, how early this is in the development stage. And the fact that they're stressing this so much is a good sign. Because even though this looks beautiful already, the fact that they're really stressing over the fact that it's not finished yet means that they definitely have not reached their standard yet. They're far away from their own standard of what the game's meant to look like. And to go along with that, it's also 30 frames per second, or roughly. The point is, it's not 60 frames per second. And yes, when I realized that, it was a little disappointed. But Naughty Dog did go out and say that they're definitely aiming for 60 frames per second, and that they definitely have a lot more time to optimize this level and the whole game for the PlayStation 4. They've got a lot to learn about the hardware. And, you know, again, the fact that they're really stressing this makes me confident that they are going to pull it off. And if they do this demo in 60 frames per second, holy crap is all I can say. Holy crap. Now, a couple of other things I want to mention before we leave. That was my dissection of the gameplay. Just all the little things there is to mention about it. And like I said, no giant set pieces. But the demo, I'm glad we got this demo. I don't want to be saturated with, you know, too many demos that kind of spoil the game. Kind of like they did with Uncharted 3. So this is going to hold me off for a while, I think, this gameplay. And I can definitely go a few more months without anything. We're probably going to get a set piece, a demo that's going to really wow everyone at E3. But until then, this is definitely a good compensation, if you will. And we haven't really heard much about this game in the last year, but this is definitely, in my opinion, has made up for it. Because this game looks fucking phenomenal. And I love Uncharted to death, so I'm glad. Now, some of the story stuff we mentioned, I think that character Sam, Drake's older brother, who I think is his actual older brother, definitely looks like the character that Todd Stashwick was playing over a year ago, and he's now being portrayed by Troy Baker, which is being confirmed on Twitter. And yes, he's replacing Todd Stashwick since he left with Amy Hennig and all that back at the start of the year. So Nolan North and Troy Baker as leads in an Uncharted game. What more could you want? But going back to the story, here's some things I've noticed. Let's go back to the monologue of the E3 trailer. Sully's going on and saying that, you know, this is, where do I even start? This is too much to take in, so on at the start of the trailer. I think this is in regards to a treasure that Drake's older brother wants the two of them to get involved in. I think that Drake's older brother approached him, and that's what Sully's referring to, is he's blown away by, is that the fact that Drake's older brother came out of nowhere. Maybe we might get some answers on the whole, is his name Drake, is he a Sir Francis descendant or not? We might get some answers on that, if this is his brother, and that really excites me. They're definitely going to tackle that question again, and hopefully they actually conclude that question. We actually get some solid information on what is Drake's past, who is Drake as a person. And we know, Naughty Dog have said that we are going to delve into Nathan Drake's character and his brother being involved, which will lead to the plot's description they gave of Drake's, the stakes are much higher now that Drake has family involved. That makes a lot more sense. And I think it's very suggestive that Elena has nothing to do with the stakes at all. You know, as I mentioned earlier, you can see in Drake's notebook to say call Elena, so clearly she's out of the question in this one. She's at home doing her thing. Hopefully she's still involved with the game and, you know, doing some adventuring and whatnot, but she seems pretty safe to me. No capturing of her or anything like some might have thought based on the first trailer or even that E3 trailer. Because I had to admit, even I thought for a while maybe Elena's in trouble and that's what Drake's coming after. But no, it looks like just because his brother's involved. But assuming that his brother, Sam, is the character that was in the very first teaser trailer, that map trailer, and that was his character's monologue in that trailer, he seemed pretty pissed at Drake, and he went on about, you know, buried alive for 15 years kind of deal, and that he's going to get his revenge pretty much on, assumingly, Drake. I'm assuming he is talking to Drake, and if you think about it, Drake obviously hasn't really been in touch with this brother much. Otherwise, we would have heard of him sometime in the last several hundred Uncharted forms of media, you know, any of the other games or anything like that. And I'm curious they did bring a family member in. It is pretty curious, but I'm willing to accept that that is his brother. It makes sense, and it's actually pretty cool when you sit down and think about it. Now, what I think is that, yes, Drake's, or Nathan's older brother, comes in the picture and tells Drake of this, like, convinces him to go into this treasure hunt, as suggested by what Drake was saying when he was talking to that skeleton at the start of the demo. When he walked out of that cave, he was kind of making fun of him, saying he was like obsessed with this treasure kind of dealy, which is curious again. So I'm assuming that Sam convinces Drake to get into this treasure, and then maybe Sam's going to double cross Nate for whatever thing he did 15 years ago. And if we're going to look at the timeline, this game takes place several years after Uncharted 3, and each Uncharted has a 2-year gap typically. So 15 years ago would probably be around the time of the first Uncharted game. Now, I'm pretty sure it isn't actually the same location, they're both in jungles, but this game I'm pretty sure is somewhere in South Africa, near Madagascar or whatever. You can tell by some of the accents of the people, of the enemies in the, you know, battle arena or whatever you want to call it, in the demo, I guess. There's just a lot of things curious that are mixing up. And no, I think that's just a coincidence, the whole jungle thing from 15 years ago. But it would actually be, I think, a couple of years before the first Uncharted, by my math, that he would be referring to 15 years. So that's what I think from there, on the story front. And I think that sounds pretty plausible, and the fact that it's his brother makes things a lot more interesting, especially if he plans on double-crossing Nate. But that's all speculation. We'll see what happens in the end. But outside, you know, story stuff, there wasn't a lot to really read from in the story. But if I had to guess, I'd say this is pretty early on in the game. Especially since, you know, Drake doesn't have that gash on his head or anything like that. So even though it's the same island, he might have been either cleaned up or it's before whatever happens in that trailer happens. which I'm going to go with the latter in that one. I think it's early in the game before where the trailer takes place. Maybe Sam double crosses Nate, and then it leads to that section where Drake wakes up, you know, in the sand or whatever, and walks into the jungle again after he found out about Sam. And that will make a lot of sense, I think. Again, all speculation, but that was my dissection of the gameplay trailer. A lot of cool little things you can notice that are just fantastic. But unless there's any new information about the game coming soon, probably not going to be doing any Uncharted 4 videos in a while, and probably a good thing because they've already saturated you 3 Everything Uncharted 4s in a row. So I'm sorry about that. But I don't expect much more Uncharted information after today, other than from like conferences and that. So let me know what you think of the gameplay below. I think this was a great example showing all the little things that accumulate to make a next-gen Uncharted game, and it looks fucking beautiful. But if there's anything else you want me to talk about in an Uncharted video, let me know in the comments. If there's anything you found in the gameplay you want to point out that maybe I missed, definitely write it down in the comments and let us all know. Thanks for watching. I'm MegaGamer, and see you in the next episode of Everything Uncharted 4. Thanks for watching.